Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakchurun Milidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tvameva Madha cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amriteshwari Ma Tvameva Sarvam Amriteshwari Ma Tvameva Sarvam Amriteshwari Ma. Om Amriteshwari Namah. We'll begin with a short meditation. Kindly sit straight and make sure your vertebral column, spinal column is erect. And slowly close your eyes. Try to observe your breath, the whole breathing process, the inhalation, exhalation. And as you watch your breathing, you'll also slowly start relaxing. Now let's chant Om 3 times, and as we chant Om, imagine the sound of Om to arise from your navel area and visualize the sound rising up along your spine, cleansing the body, the mind, and the atmosphere around you. Now kindly take a deep breath. Feel the silence. Feel Om reverberating in each and every part of your body. Now once again, focus on your breathing again normally, but with full awareness of each and every inhalation, the flow of the breath, the gap between the breaths. Now as you breathe in, chant the mantra Ma silently along with your in-breath. And when you breathe out, chant Om. So Ma when you breathe in and Om when you breathe out. Ma and Om are the representations of divine love and divine light. Feel the vibrations and you not visualize them. And continue like that for some time. Slowly and slowly the vibrations of Ma and Om become more and more subtle. You can just feel the vibrations rather than the physical sound itself of Ma and Om. Now feel the peace in your heart. The light, the love. As your heart is filled with that light and love, imagine your heart expanding. Just like a beautiful bud that opens into a blossom, fully blossomed flower. Feel the love, the light, the peace, the silence. And imagine a ray of light going out from your heart to all the beings in this world. And as the light falls on each and every one of them, imagine they also become more loving, more peaceful, more blissful, and more silent. And while imagining so, we'll chant the Loka Samasta prayer 9 times. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Dhyayamo Dhavlavagundhanavatim Tejomayim Nashtakim Snigdha Pangavilokinim Bhagavatim Mandasmida Shrimukhim Valsalyamritavarshinim Sumadhuram Sankirtanalapinim Shamangi madhusikta suktim amridanandatmikam ishwarim. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Parambaram Sruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Navami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loga Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Bhadarayanam Sutrabhashya Krita Vande Bhagavandau Punah Punaha Ishwarau Gururakmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagini Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Amriteshwarye Namaha. Om Amriteshwarye Namaha. Om Amriteshwarye Namaha. In the last session, we were looking at how King Mahabali was having this conversation with his Guru, Shukracharya. And Shukracharya was telling him that, the Vamana who has appeared in front of him is none other than Mahavishnu. And he was telling him that he was a trickster and he would grow up and then he would just, with one foot, he would measure all the physical world. With another foot, he will measure all the subtle worlds. And then he will ask for the third foot, the place to put the third foot. And so he's saying that giving every sort of excuse to say no to Vamana, who's Mahavishnu himself, and Mahabali being very righteous and being very dharmic as well. He thinks about it and then he says no to his Guru. So sometimes people have this doubt, how can you say no? You should say everything yes, yes, yes to your Guru, and you should never say no. So here, in one sense, we can see that the Guru might be testing him. And the Guru is also checking his dharmic thinking, whether how, and discrimination, whether he can think about how dharma could be implemented in daily life. So what happens is here, Mahabali completely refuses. So he says, in this world, wealth and other earthly acquisitions are all lost to one at death. Then what harm is there in giving them up for a good cause, even when one is alive? And then he's saying that, if you retain the rest of your wealth for comfortable living, the answer is also, what use to is a partial gift if it is not going to satisfy a holy man. So, but he says, for the benefit of the world at large, also great saints like Dadichi and Shibi gave up their lives. And then why should one feel any hesitation to give up such small things like the earth and other possessions? And he also tells Shukracharya that, O learned one, time might consume this earth, the possession that the asuras have been enjoying by virtue of their valor, which has made them strangers to anything like retreat in a battle. But time shall not so consume the reputation in which they are held everywhere. So he says, just see the words of wisdom that is coming from a person who is supposed to be an asura, a king who is a demonic king. And he says, "O holy sage, there are quite many in this world who give up their bodies in the field of battle without retreating. But those who are ready to give their wealth to worthy persons or causes with genuine faith and selfish dedication are few and far between in this world. Amma also says a similar, almost similar saying, words. Do you remember that? She says, there are so many people who would die for the sake of religion or spirit, but nobody wants to live according to those principles. There are only few who would live according to those principles. So this is the same thing he is saying here. And so he says, for an enlightened man with a kind heart, the suffering involved in satisfying the needs of even an ordinary suppliant is an embellishment. That being so, how much more glorious it is to satisfy illumined personages like you by providing for your wants. So I shall give this brahmacharian what he asked for. So he says he asked for only 3 foot of land, so I will give that no matter what happens. And he says, O sage, in the yagas and yajnas, you who are experts in those rites make sacrificial offerings to Mahavishnu with great reverence and devotion. And that being so, as you say, this brahmacharian is that Vishnu, irrespective of whether he has come as a benefactor to give us a boon or as an enemy to destroy us. I shall certainly give him whatever he asked for, not barring the whole earth even. So he's saying, look, you have taught us all these yajnas, and in the harvest, whatever is offered in the yajna, who does it go to? It goes to Mahavishnu. And you have taught me this. And now, this Mahavishnu has come in a human form itself. And you are telling me not to give him. So is that correct? So, you can definitely, in that sense, he's questioning his Guru's words. And in that sense, if you don't feel what is dharmic, what the Guru tells you, you definitely have the ability to ask these questions to the Guru. And the Guru has to tell that it is correct. Or, you have to make you realize what is correct and what is wrong. And if it's not correct, he will tell you or she will tell you. So he's asking these same questions, which are so important. And he's saying that this Mahavishnu has come here in human form. And this is what happens to many of us. Here the Divine Mother has come in the human form, and then we question, whether what should we do to Amma? When people will go to temples, people go to churches, we'll go to all these worship places and offer anything. But when that divinity comes in a human form, then we question the same divinity. And ask, is that a divine person? How can this divinity take the body of a human being? Right? So, all these questions come up. So even if by adopting some improper and unrighteous means, he were to tie me up, me who am absolutely innocent, even then I shall not injure him, as he has come assuming a garb of holiness out of fear. And if he is really Mahavishnu, the one of extensive fame for holiness, and he wants to add to that fame by conquering me, then he will kill me in battle and take over the earth. If on the contrary he be an impostor, he will be killed by me in the battlefield. And Sri Shuka said, thereby, by the prompting of the Lord within, Rishi Shukra, the teacher of the Asuras, cursed his truthful and courageous disciple Bali, who rejected his advice without attaching much seriousness to it. So, when Shukracharya is also known for his anger. So what happened? When he knew that his disciple is not going to listen to him, he cursed him and said, "You who consider yourself very learned, but are really ignorant and arrogant, and have disobeyed my order, shall soon be deprived of your wealth and glory." So, is this a curse? Actually, it's a blessing. For a spiritual seeker, it is a blessing because you're getting rid of all your wealth and all your glory, because these are the things that brings us the ego. And it makes us more and more egoistic. So in one sense, the curse is nothing but a blessing. And he's saying you are going to lose everything. So when you are lost, when you lost this, you become a zero. And thereby, as Amma says, when you become a zero, you become a hero. And the high-souled Bali, however, did not swerve from truth, even under the threat of his teacher's curse. He worshipped Vamana according to rites and advice without rites, and offered him the earth with libations of water. Bali's wife, Vindhyavali, bedecked with necklaces of pearls, now came forward and placed there a golden jar full of consecrated water for the rites connected with the gift. Mahabali, the master of the sacrifice, took the water vessel, washed the feet of Vamana in great joy, and sprinkled on his head that world-sanctifying water with which the Lord's feet had been worshipped. So you can say, it's so beautifully written, world-sanctifying. It's just not sanctify a person, but it sanctifies the whole world. And then in appreciation of absolute integrity and straightforwardness of Mahabali, in fulfilling his promise, a rain of flowers was showered on Bali, the Asura king, from the heaven by a host of jubilant celestials, Devas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Siddhas, Charanas, and others. Kettle drums and other instruments were sounded again and again. Gandharvas, Kinnaras, and Kimpurusha sang, praising Bali. Thus, even knowing that he will lose this all, this great hero has accomplished the impossible task of making an offering of all the three worlds to his enemy. So it's actually, Vamana has come, Mahavishnu has come as his enemy. So he's saying, in spite of this, he has offered all the three worlds to his enemy. And because everybody is jubilant, because, actually who is here victorious? So this is the question that we have to ask. Many people think that when we give up our possessions or when we give up our, the name, fame, etc., we are going to lose a lot of things. For the right cause, not for the wrong cause, but to the Guru. And when we give up everything, that's what happens. We get, we go beyond all these things and go beyond this small pond and become a big ocean itself. And thereby, we are merging with the ocean itself. And so, it's actually not a loss. And what happens is here, the disciple gains and the Guru loses. So actually the Guru is waiting for that loss, where he wants to lose and the disciple should win. So he's waiting for that moment. So here, when that happened, in spite of being asked, questioned, and told by his his own Kula Guru, that is his traditional Guru, that look, you should not do this. When he did this, there was all this singing from the celestial beings. Everybody danced because they knew that Mahavishnu will be blessing Bali. And that form of Vamana, which included in itself the whole of Prakriti, that is, Prakriti means nature, now expanded in a wonderful manner, revealing with it itself all that exists, the earth, sky, quarters, heaven, the 14 worlds, oceans, brute creations, men, celestials, rishis, and everything else. And in that most glorious divine form of the Lord, Bali, along with his priests and members of the sacrificial assembly, saw the whole universe included in this manifestation of gunas, that is the qualities of Prakriti, like the gross elements, indriyas, that is senses, objects, mind, and the embodied beings. And Mahabali now saw in that cosmic form of the Lord the nether worlds in the undersurface of his feet, the earth in his foot, the mountains in his ankles, the birds in his knee, and the wind in his thigh. In that all-comprehending form of his, Bali saw Sandhya in his garments, the Prajapatis in his genitals, the Asuras, including himself, in his lips, the sky in his navel, the seven seas in his abdomen, and the stars in his chest. O dear one, he saw Dharma in his heart, Rita, which is the cosmic order, and Satya, truth, in his breasts, the moon in his mind, the goddess Sri, that is Lakshmi Devi with a play lotus in his chest, and the Vedic meters and all sounds in his neck. So it's just Bali now is seeing the whole cosmic form of the Lord. And he's saying describing what he's seeing. And it's so beautiful. And he's saying himself in that also as well. And he saw Indra, that is the god of Devas, and the Devas in his arms, the quarters in his ears, the heaven in the crown of his head, and the clouds in his hair, the air in his nose, the sun in his eyes, and the fire in his face. He saw the Vedas in the speech of that Supreme One, the deity Varuna in his tongue, the Vedic commandments and the prohibitions in his eyebrows, day and night in his eyelids, anger in his forehead, and greed in his lips. He saw lust in his sense of touch, water in his semen, and adharma in his back, yajna in his stride, death in his shadow, maya in his laughter, and plans in his hair. That hero saw rivers in his blood vessels, rocks in his nails, Brahma in his intellect, and the Devas and the Rishis in his senses. Thus he saw in this universal form everything moving and unmoving in the universe. So here, Lord Vishnu is giving him the vision of his cosmic form. And he's showing, each and every part. As Amma says, each and every part represents each deity. And that's what it is described here, and what he sees in each and every part. And seeing this whole universe in the cosmic form of the Lord, the support of all, the Asuras felt much depressed and dispirited. Along with that form of the Lord were visible Sudarshana, the discus of irresistible might, the bow Sharanga, with its twanging sound like a thunderclap, the sea-born conch Panchajanya, whose blare resembled the roll of thunder, the powerful mace of Vishnu called Kaumodaki, the sword known as Vidyadhara in its moon-marked scabbard, the quiver that never got empty of arrows, and Sunanda and other principal attendants of his, beside the guardian deities of the quarters waiting upon him. Waited on by all these, there stood the Lord, shining in the brilliance of his sparkling diadem, armlet, and fish-marked earrings, as also of the Srivatsa mark, Kaustubha jewel, superb girdle, yellow garment with fragrant flower wreath that attracted large number of honeybees, ready to measure and take over the three worlds by his 3 steps. And he measured the whole of Bali's earth with 1 step. And he occupied the skies with his body, and the quarters by stretching his arms. And the heaven was hardly sufficient for his 2nd stride. And for the 3rd stride, there was nothing left of Mahabali's possessions. And for the 2nd step that the Lord took extended beyond the Swarga to all the higher realms like Maharloka, Janaloka, and Tapoloka, and reached up to Satyaloka. There was nothing more to measure. So you can see, what happens is also there is a beautiful hidden principle. The Guru also comes to us like a Vamana, a small person. And most of the time, we don't recognize the Guru in this form. Why? Because we think, the Guru is nothing but a small, insignificant person. And what is she going to do? And many a times when we meet Amma, that's what happens. She's just a small, tiny spark in our heart. But as days go by, the flames start becoming bigger, and until it consumes everything. Everything means our possessions, the sense of I, and sense of the ego, and completely takes away everything. And so this is what happened to Bali also. And Sri Shuka said, Brahma now saw the luster of the toenails of the Lord, whose feet had touched the Satyaloka, submerging the brilliance of that realm of his. So Brahma went forward to do honor to those feet of the Lord, accompanied by rishis like Marichi, lifelong brahmacharyans like Sanandana, and yogis and other sages who have burnt up the dirt of karmic tendencies in themselves by the fire of knowledge ignited by yoga, by devotees who by the contemplation of the Lord's feet through bhakti have attained to Satyaloka, and by the presiding deities of the Vedas and the Upavedas, law courts, faculties like logic, the Puranas, Itihasas, and the Samhitas. So now everybody is going to worship the Lord's feet because they see the Lord's feet touching the Satyaloka. As we know, the Satyaloka is the world where all the devotees go. And after that, they gradually become merged into the Supreme Consciousness. And then Brahma, who was born of the navel lotus of the feet of the Lord, worshipped his feet with the flowers as they, means the feet, came higher and higher, up to his realm. O king, the water that Brahma poured from his water pot on the measuring feet of the Lord became the heavenly Ganga by virtue of the purity it attained by the contact of the Lord's feet. Falling down through the skies, it sanctifies all the 3 worlds, just like the Lord's holy fame itself. Brahma and the other divinities now offered ingredients of worship at the feet of Vamana, who had by this time withdrawn his cosmic form, which revealed his divine majesty. And they offered him scented water to wash his feet, wreaths of sweet-smelling flowers, and different liquids like specially prepared sandal paste, fragrant incense, light, rice, yava, durva, grass, etc. And they celebrated the occasion with the singing of the hymns and the lyrics extolling the Lord's doings and excellences, as also by joyous exclamation and the sounding of various musical instruments like the kettle drums and the conch. The king of the bears, Jambavan, who was noted for his speed, celebrated this occasion by the Lord's triumph by announcing the joyous news all over the universe by beat of drums. So everybody is happy now. And as everybody is happy now, who is becoming not so happy is the asuras. And so seeing that under the guise of measuring 3 paces of earth, all the possessions of their master had been taken away, and that at the time he was observing the vows of sacrifice, the asuras became furious and began to say, "This pretender is not a holy man. He is none other than Vishnu, the master of all artifices." And dissembling, presenting himself here in the guise of a brahmacharin for the achievement of the purpose of the devas. So he's now representing the devas, so he's coming as in disguise. So this enemy of ours comes as a suppliant in the guise of a brahmacharin, has managed to wrest all the possessions of our master, who on account of this sacrifice abandoned all violence. A firm adherent of truth, a respecter of holy men and very kind and merciful by nature, it is impossible for our master to tell an untruth, even ordinarily, and more so when he has been consecrated for the performance of a holy rite like this sacrifice. So it's our duty now to serve our master by killing this enemy. Saying so, the asuras, following of Bali, took up arms to fight Vamana. So they are saying, look, our master has been cheated, and at this particular moment when he is doing all these sacrifices, when he is supposed to be very holy and he cannot even tell a lie, they have come and taken advantage of that situation. And without Bali's direction or permission, these asuras, armed with tridents and spears, rushed at Vamana to kill him. Laughing at these asura leaders rushing for an attack, the attendants of Vishnu stopped them with weapons in hand. The attendants of Vishnu, Nanda, Sunanda, Jaya, Vijaya, Prabala, Bala, Kumudaksha, Vishwavakshena, Garuda, Jayanta, Srutadeva, Pushpadanta, and Satvada, and others who had each the strength of 10,000 elephants, began to decimate the asuras. And remembering the case of his preceptor and seeing the great slaughter among his followers at the hands of the emissaries of Vishnu, Mahabali stopped his agitated followers from fighting. And he said, "O Rahu, O Nemi, hear what I say. Stop fighting and retreat. Times are not now propitious to us. Besides, no effort can overcome him who determines the destinies of all beings and distributes enjoyments and sufferings to creatures according to their deserts. That same Bhagavan, the Supreme Being Mahavishnu, who favored us in the past and wrought the downfall of the Devas, has now reversed his attitude. At present, the cause of the Devas attracts his favor and ours his disfavor. Man cannot overcome or defeat time by any of these means: army, competent ministers, intelligence, fortifications, medicinal drugs, and mantras, or by the 4 techniques of diplomacy. And in the past, when time was in your favor, you had defeated these followers of Hari many a time. The very same men are now raising cries of victory after defeating us in the battle. When time is again in our favor, we shall conquer these very people. Therefore, wait patiently for the coming of that favorable time." So what wise words you can say that? It's saying that now the time is not favorable and you are fighting the very person who decides our destinies. And he says, you cannot defeat time by any of these things, like army, competence, and competent ministers or associates, intelligence, fortification, medicinal drugs, mantras, or by the 4 techniques of diplomacy. What is it? Sama, Dana, danda, and so these four techniques. That is, one is you talk to them, and first try to come to a term. So that is then dana. That is second one is Then the second one is pleasing them by giving them something, and the third one is rebuking them and telling them, just like Amma says, you cannot tell a cow, "Oh cow, please go away." So you have to show a stick, then show a stick, and the last one is danda, that is beating them up. So all these four techniques will not work against time. That's what he's saying. Who is time? Who is Kala? Time is known as Kala. Who is Kala? Kala is none other than Ishvara himself. So you are fighting somebody whom you cannot win against. So stop fighting and wait for the favorable time. So this is a very beautiful reminder for all of us. In our lives also, there are times when it's favorable for us. And at that time, everything will work. And then we say that, oh, it's my power or my might, and it's my intelligence, and that I had achieved this. But when everything goes wrong, then you don't blame the I. You say, this is because of Amma, or this is because of, somebody else, or this person, that person. And you even blame the planets, saying Saturn was placed in the 8th or 9th, and that is why it is happening. So you blame everything, but you don't understand that time favors us sometimes and does not favor us. So if it does not favor us, retreat, keep quiet, do your mantra, do your japa. And when the time is favorable, then you can attain everything. So thus admonished by their master, the leaders of the asuras who were under the attack of Vishnu's attendants left the field of battle and fled to Rasatala, the nether world. So that's where they went, to Rasatala. Then on the day when the rite with the soma juice was to be performed at the sacrifice, Garuda, the king of all species of the birds, bound up Bali with the celestial cord of Varuna, knowing the intention of his master, Lord Vamana, that his great devotee, Bali, should gain everlasting fame thereby. So now, what is happening? So Garuda, who intuited that what Vamana, his master, wanted, tied Bali with the celestial cord of Varuna. So that's what he said. So what does that tying means? Tying means you are taking away all the sense objects and organs, and you are just allowing the person to focus within himself. So when all the sense organs and the objects are gone, then what happens? Nothing remains but the self only. So when Bali was thus bound up by the all-powerful Mahavishnu, loud cries of alas rose from the earth and the skies from all directions. O king, to Bali thus, who was deprived of his possessions and put in bondage, but who had nonetheless not lost his presence of mind and his worldwide reputation, the Lord Vamana said, O Asura, you promised to give me earth measured by my 3 paces. With 2 paces I have measured all the worlds. Show me the space for the 3rd. So this is so beautiful. Now, when the sense objects is taken away and the senses are gone, what remains? It is the I sense. The I sense remains there. The ego. And the subtle ego. So here he's now saying, I took all your possessions and I have measured with 1 foot everything that you have, and also the heaven and other things with the 2nd foot. Now nothing remains. So where should I put my 3rd foot? Your possessions extend up to the limits that the sun and the moon and the stars illumine, and up to where the clouds shower rain. And in your very presence, I, the all-pervading being, have measured the whole of earth with one pace and filled the sky and the quarters with my body, and with the second pace I have measured the heavens. Thus all your possessions have been measured. So all your possessions are now gone. And for you who cannot give what you have promised, the proper place is evidently hell. For this reason, you shall now to enter hell with the congratulations of your Guru, who has condemned you to this fate. So he say, hey, remember Shukracharya, what did Shukracharya said? You'll go to hell. Because you'll lose all your possessions and you'll go to hell. So Mahavishnu is making fun of Shukracharya and saying, now as your Guru has said, you're going to hell. So for one who deceives a suppliant by refusing to give what is promised, all his hopes go in vain. Heaven is far away from him, only downfall near at end. Now for a long number of years enjoy the fruits of hell, the fruits of the deception you practiced in the pride of your wealth and power. So in one sense, what is he doing here? He is taking away that sense that he belonged, all these things belonged. So that's what he's saying. So you just understand that the fruits of all these things is going away. And O king, even though thus deceived and in many ways induced to climb down from his ideal of truth and generosity by the Lord, the Asura Bali remained unmoved in the resolutions to stick to truth and replied without any trace of mental dejection. So now, the other thing was Lord was testing him also and saying now, you have nothing to give me, so you go to hell, as your Guru said, and you'll be going to hell. So what will you do? So Lord was testing him. So but Bali was, unperturbed by any of these things. And he said, O divinity of worldwide fame for holiness, if thy idea is to make my plighted words to be false, I am equally resolved to make them true. My speech shall never end in deception of the kind thou hast practiced. Be pleased to place thy third step on my head. So that is the only place that is remaining. So he says, put your feet on my head. And the disrepute of being a liar and a dissembler is more of a terror for me than hell, downfall, bondage, insurmountable sorrow, poverty, or any torture of a more intense kind that thou mightest inflict on me. So he's saying, so just don't call me a liar. I don't want to become a liar. You give me any hell, you give me so much sorrow, poverty, or torture me, but that would not matter to me than the most than if you call me a liar. I consider that a punishment inflicted by a most venerable personage like thee is to be welcomed more than shunned, as it leads to the supreme welfare of the individual concerned in the long run. So this is what we have to think and say again and again and again. So he says, I consider the punishment inflicted by a most venerable personage like thee to be welcomed more than shunned, as it leads to supreme welfare of the individual in the long run. So in a short time, you might think, this whatever punishment that Amma inflicts on us, or whatever Amma says something which is not favorable to us, it may not be good. But in the long time, if you take a longer time, that you will see that whatever Amma did was for our own good. And the punishment that parents and other well-wishers give cannot achieve the purpose of thy punishment, which consists in one's spiritual elevation. So when parents
and well-wishers punish us, it's not equal to what you are doing. Why? Because when you punish us, it gives us spiritual elevation. So we evolve spiritually. Whereas in the other punishments, we don't. So thou art the supreme teacher to us, asuras too, indirectly. For thou hast given us enlightenment through downfall. Us who otherwise would have been under the blinding infatuation caused by prosperity. So he's saying, you are also our guru in one sense. Why? Because he's saying through our downfall, you have given us enlightenment. Otherwise, what would have happened? We would have been hugging our prosperity, all our materials and all these things, and been sitting here. And by making us go away and making us fall down, you are indeed saving us. And by the concentration produced by deep-rooted antagonism to thee, many an asura has obtained the same goal reached by yogis who concentrate on thee through exclusive devotion. So this is the beauty. You remember he's saying here, one sense. So by deep-rooted enmity or antagonism to the Lord, he says, many asuras have obtained the same goal reached by yogis who concentrate on thee. So many of the asuras who became your enemies have attained the same state as the yogis. So you just see how the Lord works. And through exclusive devotion. And he's saying that in one sense the hatred, the anger towards the God is the same as the love towards God also. In fact, in that story, when the Dwarapalakas, that is the doorkeepers of Lord Vishnu, Jaya and Vijaya, one time you remember the story where the Rishi Naradas and the Saptarishis came to see Vishnu, and he did not allow them because Lord Vishnu had told them that, don't let anybody in. I'm going to rest and I don't want to see anybody. So Jaya and Vijaya did not allow the great sages, the 7 Saptarishis and Narada, to go in. So they cursed him, saying that you will go to the earth and be born as a human being or as an asura. So then they asked him, we'll give you a choice. And they said, you can live many years as a devotee of Lord Vishnu and then come back to Vishnu Loka. Or, you became enemies of Lord Vishnu. And within 3 births, you'll come back. So you can just imagine. Just 3 births. So it is so powerful. And they said that kind of enmity or hatredness towards the Lord is so similar to the love of the Lord. And he says within 3 births, you can come back. And of course they choose, we want only 3 births. So that's why in the first birth, they are born as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Second birth, they are born as Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And the third one, Shishupala and Dantavakra. So these 3 births, they... what happened is within the 3, after these 3 births, they have attained back what yogis through devotion could not. That's what they're saying here. And he's saying, I'm not, so he belongs to that clan. You remember Hiranyakashipu was the father of Prahlada, and Prahlada was his grandfather. So Hiranyakashipu was his great-grandfather. And Hiranyakashipu attained that position. So I am not very much ashamed or aggrieved by the fact that I have been subdued and tied up by Varuna's cords by thee of many great and glorious deeds. And my grandfather Prahlada, who was completely dedicated to thee, who had established his reputation for devotion, and whom thy devotees consider a great soul, was subjected to many ordeals by his own father, who was moved by antagonism to thee. My grandfather, though, thought in this way, what is the good of keeping this body which has to die in the end in spite of all care one takes of it? Of what good are sons who are only plunderers of your wealth, and of relatives who are only enemies in friendly guise? Of what use is a wife who is the cause of greater and greater involvement in samsara? Of what use is a home for one who is threatened with death at any time? And all these preoccupations only help the ebbing away of the short span of one's life. And thinking thus, so you can just see the beauty of what he's saying. Think about all these things. Just repeating this. So he's saying, what is the good of keeping this body which has to die? And then good sons, if you have sons who are only plundering your wealth, and relatives who are only enemies in disguise. And what is use of a wife who is the cause of greater involvement in the world, and what use is a home which is threatened by death at any time. And a home means all other possessions also. And so, thinking thus, my grandfather, a saintly personage of exceeding greatness and vast knowledge, abandoned association with his own people for fear of spiritual degeneration, and took refuge at thy feet, a firm shelter free from all fear, in spite of thy being the destroyer of asuras. So Prahlada, thinking about all these things, took refuge, in spite you being the destroyer of asuras. And it is a fortunate circumstance that providence has brought me close to thee, the natural enemy of asuras, after depriving me of my prosperous state. For it is wealth and prosperity that stupefy the mind of man and make him forget the truth that he is ever in the jaws of death. So you can just see the beauty of what Asura says. It's wealth that creates this maya, wealth and prosperity, and just forgets the truth that he is in the jaws of the death. So saying this, Bali is indeed, instead of finding fault with Mahavishnu for tying him up, is glorifying Mahavishnu. And he's saying, this was my lineage. My great-grandfather Prahlada thought so. And even though you are the enemy of asuras, you are also the uplifter of the asuras. So he's finding that beauty in the great Lord Mahavishnu. So now, in the next one, that Prahlada appears now. So we'll look at it in the next session. I think next Tuesday we don't have a class because we are having both Kartika and also the Krishna Janmashtami, that is the birthday of Lord Krishna, being celebrated. So next Tuesday, I don't think we will have a session. Om Amarteshwari Namah.
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
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 अमृतमयी आनन्दमयी अमृतानन्दमयी
अमृतमयी आनन्दमयी अमृतानन्दमयी
अमृतमयी आनन्दमयी अमृतानन्दमयी
अमृतमयी आनन्दमयी अमृतानन्दमयी
शान्तिमयी सुहासमयी अमृतानन्दमयी
शान्तिमयी सुहासमयी अमृतानन्दमयी
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
मैं हूँ अनाथ तू ही माता
मैं हूँ अनाथ तू ही माता
माया दीदा सद्गुरु माता
मायातीता सद्गुरु माता
माया दीदा सद्गुरु माता
मायातीता सद्गुरु माता
वेद पुराण तू ही गीता
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 अमृतमयी अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
अमृतमयी आनन्दमयी अमृतानन्दमयी
अमृतमयी आनन्दमयी अमृतानन्दमयी
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां अम्बे मां जगदम्बे मां
अम्बे मां जगदम्बे
ലക്ഷ്മീ നാരായണി മാ കല്യാണി
ലക്ഷ്മീ നാരായണി മാ കല്യാണി
ത്രിശൂലവാണി അംബാ ഭവാനി
ത്രിശൂലവാണി അംബാ ഭവാനി
ത്രിശൂലവാണി അംബാ ഭവാനി
ത്രിശൂലവാണി അംബാ ഭവാനി
അമൃതമയീ അംബേ മാ അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അമൃതമയീ ആനന്ദമയീ അമൃതാനന്ദമയേ മാ
അമൃതമയീ ആനന്ദമയീ അമൃതാനന്ദമയീ
ശാന്തിമയീ സുഹാസമയീ അമൃതാനന്ദമയേ
ശാന്തിമയീ സുഹാസമയീ അമൃതാനന്ദമയീ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
അംബേ മാ ജഗദംബേ മാ
गजानना हे गजानना गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हे गजानना गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हे गजानना
गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हि गजानना गजानना हि गजवदना
गजानना हे गजानना गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हि गजानना गजानना हि गजवदना
प्रणमदहर गजानना पार्वती नंदन गजानना
वारणवदहर गजानना पार्वती नंदन गजानना
कारुण्यालय गजानना कारणपुरुष गजानना
कारुण्यालय गजानना कारणपुरुष गजानना गजानना हि गजानना गजानना हि गजवदना गजानना हि गजानना गजानना हि गजवदना
विनाशक गजानना सज्जन सेविद गजानना
विनाशक गजानना सज्जन सेवित गजानना
विघ्न विनायक गजानना सज्जन सेविद गजानना
विनायक गजानना सज्जन सेवित गजानना
चित्खन श्यामल नित्य निरामय सत्फलदायक गजानना
चित्कन श्यामल नित्य निरामय सत्फलदायक गजानना
गजानना हे गजानना गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हि गजानना गजानना हि गजवदना
संरक्षक गजानना आत्मप्रकाश गजानना
आत्मसंरक्षक गजानना आत्मप्रकाश गजानना
अर्थसंरक्षक गजानना आत्मप्रकाश गजानना
आत्मसंरक्षक गजानना आत्मप्रकाश गजानना
आनन्दामृतपूरितमोद सुराधिपसेवित गजानना
आनन्दामृतपूरितमोद सुराधिपसेवित गजानना
गजानना हे गजानना गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हि गजानना गजानना हि गजवदना
गजानना हे गजानना गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हि गजानना गजवदना
गजानना हे गजानना गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हि गजानना गजानना हि गजवदना
गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हि गजवदना
गजानना हे गजवदना
गजानना हि गजवदना
गोपाल कृष्ण गिरिधारी कृष्ण गोलोक नंदन कृष्ण गोविंद कृष्ण घनश्याम कृष्ण गोपी जनेश्वर कृष्ण
गोपाल कृष्ण गिरिधारी कृष्ण गोलोक नंदन कृष्ण गोविंद कृष्ण घनश्याम कृष्ण गोपी जनेश्वर कृष्ण
गोपाल कृष्ण गिरिधारी कृष्ण गोलोक नंदन कृष्ण गोविंद कृष्ण घनश्याम कृष्ण गोपी जनेश्वर कृष्ण
गोपाल कृष्ण गिरिधारी कृष्ण गोलोक नंदन कृष्ण गोविंद कृष्ण घनश्याम कृष्ण गोपी जनेश्वर कृष्ण
सुकुमार कृष्ण सुरभूज्य कृष्ण सुखसार विग्रह कृष्ण कमनीय कृष्ण करुणाद्र कृष्ण कलिदोषनाशन कृष्ण
सुकुमार कृष्ण सुरपूज्य कृष्ण सुखसार विग्रह कृष्ण कमनीय कृष्ण करुणाद्र कृष्ण कलिदोषनाशन कृष्ण
गोपाल कृष्ण गिरिधारी कृष्ण
गोलोक नंदन कृष्ण गोविंद कृष्ण घनश्याम कृष्ण गोपी जनेश्वर कृष्ण
नवनीत कृष्ण नटराज कृष्ण नलिनीदलेक्षण कृष्ण यदुनाथ कृष्ण यदिसेव्य कृष्ण यमुना तडाश्रित कृष्ण
नवनीत कृष्ण नटराज कृष्ण नलिनीदलेक्षण कृष्ण यदुनाथ
Gopal Krishna, Giridhari Krishna,
Golokanandana Krishna, Govinda Krishna, Ghanashyama Krishna, Gopi Janeshwara Krishna.
Vrajavasi Krishna, Vanamali Krishna, Vasudeva Nandana Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, Jagadisha Krishna, Janamanaseshwara Krishna.
Vrajavasi Krishna, Vanamali Krishna, Vasudeva Nandana Krishna, Jagadeva Krishna, Jagadisha Krishna, Janamanaseshwara Krishna.
Gopal Krishna, Giridhari Krishna, Golokanandana Krishna, Govinda Krishna, Ghanashyama Krishna, Gopi Janeshwara Krishna.
Gopal Krishna, Giridhari Krishna, Golokanandana Krishna, Govinda Krishna, Ghanashyama Krishna, Gopi Janeshwara Krishna.
Gopal Krishna, Giridhari Krishna, Golokanandana Krishna, Govinda Krishna, Ghanashyama Krishna, Gopi Janeshwara Krishna.
Gopal Krishna, Giridhari Krishna, Golokanandana Krishna, Govinda Krishna, Ghanashyama Krishna, Gopi Janeshwara Krishna.
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 दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ.
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ.
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ.
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ.
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ.
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ.
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ.
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ.
रिश्ते नाटे बंधन झूठे सच्चा है बस प्यार तेरा माँ.
रिश्ते नाते बंधन छोटे सच्चा है बस प्यार तेरा माँ.
रिश्ते नाटे बंधन झूठे सच्चा है बस प्यार तेरा माँ.
रिश्ते नाते बंधन छोटे सच्चा है बस प्यार तेरा माँ.
स्थान मान धन ये भी झूठे माँ.
मान धन ये भी
साथ तेरा माँ।
सारमान धन ये भी झूठे माँ, सच्चा है बस साथ तेरा माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
भवसागर से हमको बचा लो, इस जीवन को धन्य बना दो।
भवसागर से हमको बचा लो, इस जीवन को धन्य बना लो।
भवसागर से हमको बचा लो, इस जीवन को धन्य बना दो।
भवसागर से हमको बचा लो, इस जीवन को धन्य बना लो।
गोद में तेरे हमको बसा लो माँ।
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 परम प्रेम माँ हम में जगा दो।
गोद में तेरे हमको बसा लो माँ। परम प्रेम माँ हम में जगा दो।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
दे दर्शन माँ देवी माँ, अम्बे माँ भवानी माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ।
जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ।
अमृतेश्वरी मङ्गलं प्रणमदा मुक्तिप्रदे मङ्गलं भुवनेश्वरी मङ्गलं सुकृतिनाम् एकाश्रये मङ्गलम् अमृतेश्वरी मङ्गलं प्रणमदा मुक्तिप्रदे मङ्गलं भुवनेश्वरी मङ्गलं सुकृतिनाम् एकाश्रये मङ्गलम् हृदयेश्वरी मङ्गलं हृदिलसत्तेजोमयी मङ्गलं मृदुभाषिणी मङ्गलं विजयदा प्रेमागृदे मङ्गलं विजयदा प्रेमाकृते मङ्गलं विजयता प्रेमाकृते मङ्गलम्
Dayamritananda
सुमरदे वसदा देवी अमृतानंदमयी माता अमृतानंदमयी पतितोद्धार निरंतर हृदये अमृतानंदमयी परमहंस पद निलये देवी अमृतानंदमयी माता अमृतानंदमयी हे जननी जनि मरण निवारिणी अमृतानंदमयी हे सृजन परिपालिनी जयदा अमृतानंदमयी माता अमृतानंदमयी सुरजन पूजित जय जगदम्बा अमृतानंदमयी सहज समाधि धन्ये देवी अमृतानंदमयी माता अमृतानंदमयी माता अमृतानंदमयी माता अमृतानंदमयी ओम जय जय जगजननी वंदे अमृतानंदमयी मंगलारती माता भवानी अमृतानंदमयी माता अमृतानंदमयी माता अमृतानंदमयी जय बोलो सद्गुरु माता अमृतानंदमयी देवी की असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ओम शांति 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 ओम लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ओम शांति 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 ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम